Imagine a country where entire villages echo with silence, where schools close, not from war or disaster, but because there are simply no children left to teach. This is Greece today. And what happens next will determine whether one of the world's oldest nations survives or quietly vanishes within our lifetime. But here's the part few people know. The Greek government already has a plan, a secret one, that even most Greeks have never heard of. By the end of this story, you'll understand why some experts believe Greece has less than 30 years before it hits a point of no return. Beneath the shadow of the Parthenon, where democracy and philosophy were born, a very different crisis is unfolding. Greece isn't just struggling economically. It's facing a demographic collapse, one that could erase entire communities from the map. Greece's fertility rate has fallen to just 1.3 children per woman, far below the 2.1 needed to sustain a stable population. That means Greek women today are having half as many children as their mothers did in the 1960s. In some villages, the last child was born more than a decade ago. These aren't statistics. They're empty classrooms, shuttered maternity wards, and playgrounds that will never hear children's laughter again. The roots of Greece's crisis stretch back decades. The 2008 financial meltdown didn't just wreck the economy. It changed how an entire generation viewed the future. Youth unemployment soared above 50%, and even after recovery, the scars remain. A whole generation grew up believing that building a family was not just hard, it was irresponsible. Economists call it the scarring effect, when years of instability make people too afraid to plan for tomorrow. Since 2010, more than 500,000 young Greeks have left their homeland for countries like Germany, Australia, and the United States. These aren't just workers leaving. They're the very people Greece needs most, its young, educated, and fertile population. Every woman who leaves represents not just one citizen gone, but an entire future generation born somewhere else. Germany gains a doctor. Greece loses a mother, and 2 children who will never speak Greek as their first language. This is not migration. This is demographic bleeding. In just 2 generations, Greece transformed from a traditional family-centered society into one of Europe's most individualistic nations. Women entered the workforce in record numbers. Education soared. But with that progress came delay. Marriages later, fewer children, or none at all. Meanwhile, childcare remains expensive, maternity leave minimal, and housing costs have skyrocketed while wages stagnate. For many couples, the math simply doesn't work. Having children has become a luxury. Today, there are barely 1.5 working-age Greeks for every retiree. By 2050, that number will be 1-to-1, one worker supporting one retiree. The system simply cannot survive that ratio. As the young leave and the old remain, Greece's towns are turning into open-air nursing homes. Doctors report rising rates of loneliness, depression, and suicide among the elderly. Whole villages now consist of nothing but the old, the forgotten, and the ghosts of what used to be family homes. When people disappear, culture disappears with them. Ancient dialects, village traditions, local dances, all fading into silence. Even the Greek language itself is at risk as children born abroad grow up speaking English, German, or French instead. A civilization that once defined Western culture may now struggle to preserve its own. In response, Greece has quietly begun drafting a national demographic rescue plan. It includes tax incentives for families, free childcare, and even offers of land and housing to those willing to repopulate dying villages. But experts warn these efforts may already be too little, too late, unless Greece acts decisively right now. Greece is not the only country facing this. Japan, South Korea, and Italy all face similar demographic collapse. But what makes Greece unique is the speed of its fall and its lack of resources to fight back. Still, there is hope. If Greece can make family life affordable, attract young immigrants, and invest in rural revitalization, it could yet reverse course. France, for example, managed to raise its birth rate through long-term, family-focused policies. The children who aren't being born today are tomorrow's missing teachers, workers, and protectors of Greece's legacy. If this trend continues, the nation that gave birth to democracy, art, and philosophy may quietly disappear from within. The question isn't whether Greece can change, it's whether it will, before time runs out, because the clock is ticking and the silence is growing louder.